Okay, welcome to Understanding Mental Health with Rumbie. And well, we've been having network issues, so we're just going to try this one last time. And if it doesn't work, then we'll have to do this live session next week. So, Memory, can you introduce yourself?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So I'm Ngandini, and I'm the founder of Generation, which
You're
is
breaking again.
I'm breaking again, which is an organization that helps young people, and
Mm-hmm.
we're currently running a campaign called "A Cry for Help."
Okay.
For mental health awareness, and we're helping the young people to tackle the mental issues that they've been facing due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the challenges that we've been facing as a nation, Zimbabwe.
Okay, well, that's really nice. So, I work with Memory, guys. I work with Memory, and yes, we've been running a mental health awareness campaign called A Cry for Help, where we're helping the youth still and cope with the challenges they're facing, also with COVID-19 pandemic. So, Memory, I understand that you once lost a job, and it was a terrible experience for you. Would you mind sharing your story with us?
Thank you, Rumbie. So it was in 2015. I
Uh-huh.
had got a new opportunity, a greener
Mhm.
pasture, and I told myself, now this is the time for me to move, and start afresh and start at a new organization where you're being appreciated, where you see that you're adding value. So I had to serve a 2-week notice at my old organization. At the same time, the organization that I was supposed to join had started the 6 weeks training that we're supposed to go through. So it
Okay.
meant I had to start the training on the third week, whilst others have already started the training. So I joined
Okay.
others in the third week, and because I managed to catch up quickly, the training was now 5 weeks. So
Okay.
we wrote our final examination, and I was the second highest.
Okay.
Even though I joined late, I did well. So I was expecting, to receive the letter, saying you are now full time at this organization. Congrats, Memory. You did well. This is the opportunity. Now you're starting afresh. But then things did not go as I thought. It's funny because what happened during that period, it didn't make sense to me. Even the
Uh-huh.
other lady that I was with, you know, that lady didn't go through the same, like the same process that I went through.
Okay.
So maybe I can just share the story of what happened. So I was with my colleague and we were walking down the corridor. The CEO was in the corridor and he was talking with other people who had visited him. So what we did with my colleague, we said, no, we cannot just go, past him without greeting him. But at the same time, he is talking with important people, so we cannot interrupt that conversation. So let's wait for him to finish the conversation, then we can greet him, and then we can go through to where we were going to our offices. So what
Okay.
happened was we waited for him to finish the conversation, and when he finished the conversation, we were about to greet him.
Uh-huh.
That's when, like, the CEO was like, you girls, you did not greet me. You saw me in the corridor, but you did not greet me. What's going on? And he started, shouting and all that. But
Uh-huh.
we were waiting for him. Like, me and my colleague, we said we are not going to, we are not going to leave um, until we've greeted him, so that it doesn't seem like we are not respectful.
Okay.
But then it turned out, he's like, you did not greet me. And we tried to explain, no, sir, we were waiting for you to finish your conversation so that we can greet you. But then things went other way. So what happened was, me and my colleague, after all that, noise and the shouting, We just apologized, like we apologized for what happened, and we went our way to the office. Little did I know that for me, that was like the end of the road, like for me. So the next day, when we were supposed to receive our letters from the HR office to say, you guys, now you're full time and all that, I did not receive that letter. My letter was there, but I did not receive it. The other colleague that I was with, she did receive a letter, but I did not receive it. We were on the same, like, whatever that happened with the CEO, that lady was also there. So what happened? It happened to both of us. But I did not receive the letter, and she did. So the HR called me, and they were saying, Memory, we don't understand what's happening. We just received like an order to say she's not supposed to get that letter. So you have to go and see the CEO. But the head of operations, the head of HR, they all said, we don't know what the issue is. You have explained to us what happened, but we don't see the problem. If there was a problem, the other person was also supposed to receive that letter, but only you did. And we don't see what you did wrong, because you actually waited for him to finish his conversation with the people that he was with, which was respectful, because we could see that the conversation was about to end, so we cannot just interrupt him, talking with the important people. But so they said, okay, Memory, we are holding the letter for now. And then we see and try to understand what's going on. Maybe we can talk to the CEO and see what's going on, and probably in a few days' time, we can call you and give you the letter. So just go and see the CEO, and then after that, we will call you. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. I went to the CEO's office. So then he said to me, do you think you are the only one who is looking for a job? There are so many people out there who are looking for a job, but you are actually wasting that opportunity. And so I was trying to understand where he is coming from, because I knew I was with someone. So all that happened during that period. What she did, I also did. We're in the same situation. So for me, I couldn't understand why it's only me who's being said, you cannot get the letter A, B, C, D, E, and all that. So, and he was like, so to me, I apologized, because I could see, okay, there's no need for me to explain, because we were all there. Yeah. And then he called the receptionist, and the receptionist came in, and he was like, did this girl, do you remember what happened yesterday? This girl was actually laughing at me when I was talking to them, telling them, why didn't you greet me and all that? And the other lady that she was with was remorseful. That's what he said. The other girl she was with was remorseful, but this one laughed. For the receptionist, I could see on her face that she was confused. At the same time, you cannot say, no, sir, that's not what happened. He is the CEO. So I could actually see that this lady was also confused. What's going on? And he was like, see, she's agreeing with me. You were laughing yesterday and all that. And I was like, there's no point for me to explain anything. I'll just apologize. And then he said, you can go home. But he didn't say, you've got the job or not. So it was like, oh, okay. And then I went back to the office. I packed my bags and I went home. Like, just like that. Just like that. Remember, the 2 weeks before I was actually serving my notice, I was so happy. I was so excited. This is my opportunity to start a new job. And 4 weeks down the line, I'm packing my bags, going home.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
honest
That must have
truth,
been
honest truth, I couldn't explain what was going on. Because if what I had done was wrong, it meant we were supposed to go home with the other lady that I was with, my colleague. But I was the only one who was going home. And I couldn't explain what he was saying. Like, even if you try to understand his explanation or what he's saying, I couldn't understand it. It didn't make sense. Like,
wow.
it didn't make sense. So when I was not given the letter, the other lady that I was with was like, Memory, what's going on? And I explained to her what happened that other day, and she was like, so why did he call you and he didn't call me? Because I was there with you. We all saw what happened. Even the receptionist who was there saw what happened. So what he's saying and what happened, they are like two different things. So yeah, for me, that was like the end of the road. And the HR was like, we will call you after a day, after we've deliberated, and tell you like the final, but I knew that, these guys are trying to be nice considering the situation. They were just trying, to be nice and accommodative. So I was like, no, that's fine. I packed my bags. I went home. And on my way home, okay, it was like I knew this job is done for me. But I was trying to, to connect the dots. 2 weeks ago, I was serving my notice. And the other 2 weeks, I was doing my training. I was actually the second highest. But I'm now jobless. Like,
wow.
Even if I try to explain it to someone, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I remember when you're trying to explain to us, it didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense. But at that moment, I didn't have a job. At that like the reality, I remember when I was walking home, I think I was actually crying because it didn't make sense to me. For that moment, I was like, I think it was like blurry for me because I was trying to figure out, okay, this was like a new opportunity for me, and better salary, better, opportunities, better environment, and now it's all gone. And remember, I had like bid farewell to the other guys from my old job. So they're expecting to say, Memory, how's the new job? How's the new environment? And all that. And it's gone. So for me, that was like, I think it was devastating. It was, I don't know how to explain it because that moment for me, it was like I was in a moment of blankness. Yeah.
I couldn't understand what's happening.
Yeah, I couldn't explain it. So for me, that was like the journey from getting a new job, from transitioning from an old job to a new job and losing that job before you even start.
Wow, that must have been difficult.
Yeah,
I'm sure you're in shock and confused and you're numb and you're like, what just happened here, So, like, what impact did it have on your mental health? Like, how did it affect you mentally?
Well, for that time, to be honest, I didn't know about the mental health issues stuff. I think even in Zimbabwe, we were not really talking about mental health and all that stuff. So I didn't know that I was going through depression. Okay, I knew I was stressed, but I didn't know that the extent now has reached to that stage of depression.
Okay.
Yeah, like I could, I would be crying. I remember, because I was staying with my sister, I would go into the car and then sit, listening to music, reading the word, but I would be crying. I'll be trying to process what really happened. And remember, people are now calling me from my old organization. They're like calling me, how is the new job? How do I tell them that I'm jobless? I'm not employed. How do you explain it? Like, how do you explain it to people?
You,
Like, yeah, you cannot explain that. So for me, it was difficult because one, it meant that I don't have any source of income now.
uh-huh.
Two, I have people who are, asking me, who are watching me, what
Uh-huh.
is Memory doing? What is she doing now? What stage is she at now? So it was difficult. Like it was really difficult for me.
Were you ashamed or embarrassed, that people are going to find out that you had lost your job, like your new job, and then the next thing, boom, the job is gone.
Oh
So you're
yes,
like,
I was. I was.
you were ashamed and embarrassed. Like,
Yes.
how did you feel about the whole situation? Yes, you said you were crying, but deep down, like, can you describe the emotions that you were going through, or the experience and all? Can you try and describe it?
It was painful.
Painful. Were you
Yeah.
angry? Were you sad?
I wasn't angry,
Okay.
but it was painful for me. It was shameful.
Okay.
So it wasn't anger, no, it wasn't. But
Okay.
I was in that state of, embarrassment,
Uh-huh.
pain, and at the same time, I'm trying to understand what happened.
Yeah, you couldn't wrap your head around it. So
Yeah,
did
I
you
couldn't.
did you have like flashbacks of what happened? Like, did you replay the event over and over again in your head? Trying to understand, like, God, what just happened?
I did, but I think one thing that helped me was I remember my sister, our older sister.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, you know what? Uh, this is a process that will come to an end. You get another new job like in 3 months, 2 months. So you don't have to worry about that. Just keep on applying, you get another job. So for me, I had that mentality, you know what? It happened. It was painful. I feel ashamed. But yeah, maybe, after 3 months,
You had
I'll,
hope.
I'll, I'll get another job. So yes, it was painful, but I had that hope, like I'm going to get another job in 3 months. So
Okay.
that's where my challenge was, because my hope was based on my hope was based on the 3 months. Like I was saying, after the 3 months, after applying, I'll just get another one. But remember, we are in an economy where unemployment rate is high.
Yeah,
Things are
yeah.
tough. Like things are tough in Zimbabwe and all that. But I had that hope to say, yeah, I'm going to get another job. But I
Okay.
didn't. That's where the challenge was.
Or you didn't get the job, so it got worse. It's like, okay, I have faith. And then, so someone said, I once had this, I don't remember, but there was this guy saying this, what is called faith trauma. It's like you have faith that you're going to get something, and then you don't get that thing. And when you don't get that thing, it's like you're crushed again. And it's more like it's traumatic for you. It's like, okay, I have faith, I'm going to get a car or I'm going to get a new job. And then the next thing, you don't get the job or you don't get the car. So it's like you are now experiencing another trauma again. But this kind of trauma it's more like a faith one. It's like you had faith and then what you were hoping for didn't happen. So maybe let's just say you had that trauma again. So it's like you had a traumatic experience and then you were hoping that you'd get a job. And then boom, you didn't get the job. And that was another traumatic experience for you again, not getting a job. So I heard you saying that, you had, your colleagues, your former colleagues, they kept calling you, saying memory, how's the new job and all. So how did you face your former colleagues? How did you face your friends, even your family, just to try and say, guys, I had a job and then the next thing is like, I've lost the job. So how did you face them?
I avoided them. Like my former colleagues, I avoided them.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, I guess they found out that I'm not at that job because the organization it provided a service that almost like everyone had to acquire that service. So
Okay.
probably they would call and say, I would want to talk to memory, wanting to get help from memory. Then you hear, no, memory is no longer, at our organization, something like that. So I avoided them. For me,
Okay.
I avoided them, and I had to, for the 3 months, I stayed with my sister in Harare. But
Mm-hmm.
then because I was jobless, I had no income, there was no need for me to continue staying in Harare. It meant I had to go back home, like my hometown where I was born in Kwekwe. It meant I had to go back home. So that again was not something, it felt like, you're coming from this position. Now you're going, you left home because you wanted a better life, a better opportunity. But now
Uh-huh.
you're like going down there, going down the drain. So that was painful. For me,
But didn't
really,
you
that was.
depression? Didn't you fall into depression? Because, okay, I remember that
I
time you
was,
lost weight.
I was,
You lost,
like I
you
said,
lost so
like I
much
said,
weight.
I didn't know about depression. I didn't
Uh-huh.
know about, the mental health terms. We didn't know that kind of stuff to say I'm depressed, I'm what. So at that time, I couldn't say I'm depressed because I didn't know about depression. Like I didn't really, but I was depressed because
Now that you look back,
yes, now that I look back, I was depressed. Now
okay,
that I look
Rumbie,
back, yes.
Rumbie here says, I also moved back home from Harare back to Gweru. So she's saying she also got fired and then she had to move back from Harare, to Gweru. I think it's just it's painful and difficult. Imagine it's like you're saying, okay, I found the greener pastures, I'm going there, and then the next thing, something terrible happens to you, you lose your job, and then it's like, okay, fine, I'm going back home. And even when you're home, you still have to explain to the people back home, your neighbors, your friends, and all. You still need to explain to them why you're at home and why you're not going to work. So I think it's something that's like really terrible to experience. Oh, Ruby says, sure, we didn't know. Yeah, I was like, even myself, that time, I remember I was still a student at MSU. I didn't even like really pay attention to these things. But looking back at it now, it's like, oh, this person actually, experienced trauma. Whoa, this person, actually had depression. So I really get you, memory. And
And
so,
sorry,
like,
to just add on, I think
uh,
what makes us depressed is not really losing the job. But
okay.
what are people going to say about
Oh, okay.
my
It's about
situation?
the,
How am I
the
going to explain it to other people? Or it's like, how am I going to pay for, if I was paying school fees, or if I was paying, if I have bills, how am I going to do it now? So what is really painful is not really the job that you have lost, but the things that are attached to the job that you lost.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
actually makes sense. It makes sense. It makes sense actually. It's not really like the event, but it's what attached to the event that
Yes.
make you worry and all that. So in what way did you try to cope? I remember at first you said, your sister talked to you, our sister talked to you, and she told you that, what, these things happen, and you can get a job maybe in 3 months or 4 months time. But then after the 3 months, you didn't get anything. So how did you cope with the whole situation?
Well, like I was saying, I I prayed. Like
Uh-huh.
I didn't talk to anyone about all this stuff
Okay.
because even to try to explain the situation to someone, it didn't make sense. So why would I bother to talk to someone about that? So for me, I was like, let me keep on praying. Let me keep on, pushing. I pray, I listen to music, I do this, So for me, it was like I was more into prayer. I was more into reading the word. I was more
Okay.
into, yeah, it was like that was my safe place because I'm also
Okay.
a worshiper. I would listen to music, I would sing. So it would help me, to to get over the day. Like, I listen to the music, I pray, I fast, I do all that stuff. Then my day is over, another day. So it was like, it was almost like the same routine. It was
Okay.
almost like the same routine, 3 months, nothing. 4 months, nothing. I actually waited for 1 year, 6 months.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's how long it was. So it was like I would be like, after 3 months, maybe after, I'll get it. 6 months, it's gone. Maybe after, you know. But what happened to me during the process,
Okay.
that was what was like, that marked a big difference for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, like, what lessons did you take from that experience? I mean, you said you had to wait for 1 year, 6 months, and you just at home, and you kept hoping and hoping that, you know what, one day I'm gonna get a job. So, what lessons can you say I took from this experience?
Well, I would want to say that the idea of Revolve Generation was actually birthed during that season.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. So, yes, I was going through a hard time, but it was like at the same time, memory, you need to do something. You are unemployed. Look at all those young people who are unemployed, they are sitting at the bridges, locations, what we do, people sit at the bridges, they are in the road, just roaming around, just being idle. So for me, during that time, I was like, you know what? I know I'm unemployed, but I have better academic qualifications. At any time, I can get another job. But what about these guys that I'm seeing, they don't even have O-level subjects. They don't even have like something they can say, okay, maybe one day this is going to happen for me. So I
Okay.
was like, why not start something to help the young people? Like, start something to develop them, start personal development, do something to help these young people. Eventually you will get a job, but let's find something to help other people. So for me, it was like that painful process. It gave birth to an organization, that would eventually help other young people. I remember we started our first like workshop. We started it at
Uh-huh.
church with young people at church, and it was like it was successful. We had like 44 young people who joined that workshop, and it went well. So it was like I found a purpose during that painful period. So the lesson for me was like, my identity is not from the job.
It's not defined by your job
Yes,
or
yes.
yeah.
I cannot be defined by a job or a certain title. That's not my identity. Like, I am Memory who is created to do something purposeful, to have a meaning, to add value in other people's lives. So whether I have a job or I don't, I can still do it. It doesn't mean it's easy, but I can still find ways to do that. So I had a team, I had other young people from the church who helped me. We were working together, to come up with the whole program and all that. But during that period, the biggest lesson that I learned was my identity is not defined by a job, or is not defined by anything that I am doing at that moment. At that moment, it was a job. So it meant my identity is not defined by that job. So that was the biggest lesson for me. It was like, no, you are not identified by that job. You are someone who is, who has a purpose. You are someone who is valuable. You can add value in people's lives, whether you have that job or you don't.
Okay. They say kushata kwezvimwe kunaka kwezvimwe. So
Yeah.
your job, but you birthed something big and the organization is up and running and you're actually making a difference out there, which is a beautiful thing. And I'm actually glad that you found your purpose in the process. And here you are. I mean, look at you. Look at Revolve Generation. You're doing a great job. And I'm happy that you're doing something great. Oh, so Rumbie says, true, you're valuable, sis.
Thank you, Rumbie.
So, okay, Memory. So, what advice can you give to the people out there who lost their jobs or who have lost their jobs? Like, what can you tell them? Do you have any positive words for them?
I would say to them, the process is painful. We cannot deny that. The process of losing a job, moving from a certain life or a certain standard that you had, to going back down the drain, that process is painful. But it's high time that we find our true value, which is not attached to the job. What is it that you can bring to the table? What is it that you can bring to save lives, to add value in people's lives? So my advice is, whatever bad thing that you go through, if you lose your job, go deeper, like find who you are, like find what's your purpose, what's your passion. Because most of us, we go to these jobs, but we ignore the passions that we have inside. We have certain things that we want to do, but we ignore them because we are weighing. It's like, I have bills to pay, I have this to pay, so I would rather go to a job that I don't like for the sake of living, for the sake of surviving. And then you ignore all the passions that you have. You ignore that, that burning inside of you to say there's more to you than just that job. So my advice is, to those who have lost jobs, to those who didn't lose their jobs but they are still unemployed, find that value, find that purpose, find that, that burning passion inside of you, and start to make a difference. One thing that I I love, you know, I'm going to say it. After I got my job, I didn't get any satisfaction. Like, I would go to work from 8 to 5 and I would ask myself, what was I doing the whole day? Like, I was working, but I wasn't adding value. So I thought I was looking for a job, but when I got the job, it wasn't really about me getting the job.
Okay.
Yeah, it was more. So that's why I'm saying, you know, find what is inside of you. Look deep inside of you and find your passions. Find something that you can say, if I do this, it's going to add value to someone. It doesn't matter if it's one person, 2 or 3. Find something that adds value to someone in the community. So my advice to people is, even when you lose a job, go through the process of grieving, go through the process of, you know, accepting what has happened. But in that process, go deeper and find who you are.
Your purpose.
Yes, like your identity, like who you are. What is it that is inside of me besides the job? That is what is going to bring you satisfaction. That is what is going to bring you to a level where you say, I have the satisfaction that I'm looking for. So even after I got that job, I didn't have the satisfaction until I realized that, no, my purpose is really about impacting in other people's lives, other young people, you know, to move them from point A to B, to develop people, to, you know, to make a difference in the lives of people. So even though I continued with my job, I started the journey of Revolve Generation. I did the whole process of registering the organization, all the process that I needed to do so that I can be able to do what I love to do. So yeah, today, Revolve Generation, we are here. We're officially registered in 2018. Yes,
Wow.
and now we are actually making that difference. And I left my job. I left my
Yeah.
job 2020. I actually resigned and I was like, this is the journey that I'm taking now. This is what fulfills me. So I might not have money or I might not have what I'm looking for now, but I know that what I am reaping from all this is way better than what I thought.
Wow. That, you know, to all those people who have lost their jobs, that find your purpose. I think it's important to find what you're really passionate about. That way you're not moved by anything. Even if, well, you're not getting income. I know we all want money. Everyone wants money. But at the end of the day, it's all about making a difference in the world. It's all about impacting people. So I like what you say, that, you know, don't be defined by your job. Know who you are. Like, find your identity, know who you are. When you do that, you find your purpose, and you'll be able to make a difference in the world. You'll be able to add value and all. And also, you know, now that we're talking about mental health, to all those who have lost jobs, it's important that you find someone to talk to, because I'd like to believe that it's not you know, it's not a good experience. Even the feelings and the pain that comes with it, what's important is you find someone to talk to, their psychologist, their counselors, or just your pastor, or anyone, your friend or anyone. I think it's important that, you know, we start, you know, talking about these things. We start talking about, you know, how losing a job has an impact on our mental health. Back then, you, even Rumbie here in the comment section, she also said that she didn't know that, you know, she had depression, but, you know, you actually had depression. So it's like a lot of people nowadays, they're probably going through that. They're going through depression, trauma, but they don't know that they're actually suffering from these things. So it's important that you find someone to talk to. It's important that you find help. And this marks the end of our session. Thank you very much, Memory, for sharing your story and, just letting the world know that, these things are real, they happen. And when you lose a job, definitely you experience pain, you go through a lot of things which you cannot explain to the world, explain to your family or to the next person. So thank you very much for coming here today, and thank you, Rumbie. Yeah, Rumbie, you were there since the moment we started until now, and I'm just happy that we managed to finish this live because we're having network issues, but finally we're here, and we've done something. So thank you very much, and thank you everyone who joined this live. This marks the end of our episode 3. I hope to see you guys next week as I bring another guest. So enjoy the rest of your evening, and Memory, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Okay.